Well, hello there. This is Shane with Shane's Reviews, and I hope that you are having a great day today. Today, we are going to be talking about Reprisal from F.Paul Wilson, which was narrated by Kurt Elftman, Elftmann. So, as we usually do, let's talk about usually Repairman Jack books I'm all about. This one, not so much. Mostly it's because there's no Repairman Jack. What I figured out after finishing the book is this is like a side shoot. So if you think about Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child, right? They'll have Aloysius Pendergast, and then there will be sub stories that will feed into his universe, or vice versa, or all these other kinds of books where they are in the same universe, and he may make a glancing shot through the book or an appearance in the book, but it's not all about him. I've read it twice, and there's a couple of things that was just like it was thrown in there, but just to say it was in the same universe, because the story just completely well, it doesn't diverge completely, but it is such a different story than what I'm used to with the Repairman Jack novels. There's a particular rhythm that I'm used to with that, and with this, it's almost as if the author was having a problem finding a new rhythm for these characters, which you got to experiment a little bit or you're not going to get anywhere. So I respect it, but let's talk about the narrations first. I'm not a big fan of the guy that narrated this at all. And it's not that there's anything wrong with his voice or anything like that. It's that I'm stubborn, and for particular authors, I'm used to particular narrators. And I know things have got to be switched out, etc., from time to time for whatever reasons. But it's one of those things where there wasn't anything wrong that he did. It's just that it didn't have the same cadence. I think that was the biggest issue I had with the production. Everything else in the production was good. I mean, the audio was clear. There wasn't any problems with that. There wasn't any problems with, things that take you out of the book, like somebody leaving a note to the editor in the edit of the audio book. There wasn't anything like that at all. In fact, it was a good read from this person. Some narrators, you can tell when they care about something, and I don't know if he actually cared about reading that book. That's the issue right there. I finally got my thumb on it. So let's get back to the actual book. Is this a important, pivotal book for you to read in order to enjoy Repairman Jack or to get some back lore, etc.? No, not really. I mean, you could live without it. And I might be saying that before I read the rest of the main story and then find out, yeah, this backstory is actually important because of XYZ. I think that I could have skipped over this one and been perfectly happy. So is it worth your time, efforts, and energies? Probably not so much. If you want a book that's different, and this would be an interesting experiment. If you've not read Repairman Jack and you like sci-fi that's a little dark, maybe if somebody would volunteer to listen to this first and then start Repairman Jack. What if it's just that I'm being biased, which very well could be. That might be it. But anyway, the long and the short is I would wonder what your experience would be if you read the side series first and then read Repairman Jack versus reading all of Repairman Jack and then the side series. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Anyway, if anybody does that, tell me about it or make a video and at me. I would love to actually have that input. I would like to know. I think it was an enjoyable book. I feel like maybe there was particular things that were being hinged on, but not told. There's this concept in the book of being a prime. It's kind of showing versus telling, right? And in this case, it was so far down the middle of show versus tell that you get the idea, but you don't get the idea. So it's broad, it's left open, but essentially it's supposed to be that you're better than anybody else around you, etc., between these two characters. And I mean, that does play out a bit in the end of the book, but for the most part, it's just, why are we using the word prime so much? I mean, I wish I had a rolling ticket counters, where you push a little button and it just tick, 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 so that I could have kept track of how many times that word was used in that book, because it was substantial. Like I was saying, I don't want to trash talk it. It's just, this was a book from this author that I really like, but this book just wasn't for me. It's not that it was a bad book or anything like that. It's just, I'm wondering about its relevance in the way that it is supposed to tie into Repairman Jack. Now, am I going to continue going down the rabbit hole of that side series? No. I don't think I will. There wasn't enough substance for me to actually grab onto it with my teeth. There was no emotional reaction really for me for the characters. There was one thing that was kind of really creepy, a story about a priest and this one guy, kid and a person that ended up, one of them was soulless and one of them ended up being without blood or organs or anything, just a skin husk. I really didn't like the priest, even though he's a likable character. And the reason why I didn't like him, For example, is there was a particular scene where he's praying to God and he's like, hey, even if I have to take on the burden of what this kid's going through and give me a sign and all this kind of stuff. But even though the signs were given and the answers were given for him to put this kid to rest properly, he's like, oh, well, anybody else but me. Oh, don't make me go through this. Dude, you asked. And if you asked and there's a God that actually answers you, do it, unless you're a person that needs psychiatric help. The Coke can is a God, you know, that kind of a thing. But that's not what I'm getting at, and I'm not making fun of mental health at all, because we all have struggles with mental health, including myself. I'm no stranger to it. But I mean, as far as this book went, it was almost like an exercise and part of patience to get through it. Frivolous. The more interesting thing to me in this book was the mental health of the guy that Lizzie attaches to. He has kind of made me think of like some old school Anne Ryan type stuff, especially the Fountainhead. And the main reason why I say that is because every time that there's a sexual encounter in between her and him, he's like, well, imagine that I'm your ex and beat the snot out of me. And that's the only way that he can perform sexually. And this is a behavior that is backed up throughout the book in multiple points, because there's one time where she decides that she wants to engage with intercourse with him, and he's just halfway there until she starts to bite him and draw blood. Now, there is something about him because he does heal incredibly fast. So like after she bit him and had sex with him, even though she drew blood, it was gone. Or whenever she took a belt to his back, it was healed by the time that she got done with it. All these kinds of things. So there is a little bit of the mystic there. There is a little bit of the sci-fi there. As far as why, it's kind of obvious that he's trying to take over her life by hers. That really is a thing that's not really answered or hinted at properly, I don't think. Because that priest that I was talking about is also engaged with Lizzie. He doesn't like this guy, and so he's being the nice guy, not a nice guy. Just so many of these things were just like absolutely trivial to the story. Felt like it could have been a lot more potent, a lot more stringent, or it would have had better legs. It would have stood better on its own if a lot of this stuff was just simply cut out and left on the floor. And then particular aspects of the story, like why is being a prime so important? Why is testing somebody that might be a prime so important beyond just the title of prime? That's just a thing. It was nitpicky maybe, but I mean, that's just the way that I feel about it. So can I honestly say, is this book worth your time, efforts, and energies? No. Reprisal is not. I personally, at this point, wouldn't say get it, because I mean, even though it's interesting, even though it's sci-fi, this just seems to be a little lackluster in my eyes whenever it comes to either the fantasy part or the sci-fi part. So, question of the week. What was the last book you read that you absolutely hated, even though you thought you should love it and felt like you should love it and you tried so hard to love it, but you couldn't? Tell me down there. I'd love to know. And if you made it this far, you're my personal hero. Thank you for being my hero. I'm not sure if you're subscribed or not, but if you're not, it's free. And if you decide later on in life that you don't like looking at my face, you can always unsubscribe later. If you have made it this far, maybe we did something right. So if you would hit that little subscribe button and the bell so you know the next time we put a video up. I'm not sure which one of these two videos are coming in that you would pick, but if you happen to get that one, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.